And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's a snack pack, everyone. It's Gerald Glassford right here for you behind the pop culture cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. The pop culture cosmos had a great episode talking about the state of video game adaptations to movie and television. Have a great conversation on that. On our latest Pop Culture Cosmos, also as well, we go ahead and talk about Halo 2. We reminisce about that great video game from the past. Xbox, you know what I'm talking about right there. Go ahead and check it out today, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, looking at doing a show this week with Chris Sardieri, and hopefully the guys too, Sean Grice, who I was told was going to be here. Not here yet. Hoping he will be. But if that's the case, still got you covered here. But hopefully he, Joe Soro, Chris Ardieri will also provide you some good playoff preview talk on Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Also as well, of course, Empire Jeff TV cover the Lakers and the Dodgers. Of course, also as well, don't forget there is some good stuff going on with Alfred Esmond, who I just did an interview with. If you were a member, you got to see it on YouTube first, a few hours ahead of time. So go ahead and become a member today for just $2.99, and you can get more great stuff like that on the way. Also, as well, of course, don't forget Stone Hansen, who just brought out a new episode of his Upside Swings NBA Draft podcast. Don't forget also, as well, of course, Lakers in 5, John McCallion channel, and Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Yo! Don't forget to those great shows by liking and subscribing today. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. We're now 2020. We are 2020 subscribers strong, and we're looking forward to hopefully getting a lot more, but it's all got to be with you liking and subscribing today right here on the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Well, I was told by the guys they wanted to do a show today, possibly even a nightcap later on. I don't know. But what's going on with those guys? Hopefully they'll stop on by. But it's Gerald Glassford. I'm here for you right now, talking about what's going on with the Lakers as they head tomorrow into Dallas to face off against the Dallas Mavericks. No Luka. No Kyrie. So absolutely looking forward to a great conversation there. Magic Man, I was like, man, where are you?
I know, my bad. It was the Canadian internet again, Gerald. I think Trudeau's trying to mess with us before
no
he
wonder he's
leaves
quitting.
office.
Yeah, no wonder he's quitting. But is, of course, the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to stop on by, despite Trudeau quitting and leaving the country. Well, I don't know if he's leaving the country, but at least he's leaving office.
Oh, he'll be leaving the country, Gerald. Don't fool yourself.
After 9 years as a prime minister or head of any country, I'd want to take a long damn vacation. I'm sorry. I'm going to Bahamas, Hawaii, some nice island, tropical deal. I'm just hanging out saying, I'm done dealing with all that horse manure stuff. So, yes, I'm going to go ahead and be on my way, just chilling like a villain. But it is, of course, the Magic Man, Sean Grice. Sean, great to have you here. Wanted to go ahead and talk with you about what's going on with the Lakers. The Lakers right now with the loss tonight by the Dallas Mavericks, which is always so enjoyable right now to see. The Lakers find themselves in 5th place in the Western Conference. And if things break the right way, the Denver Nuggets lose their next game and the Lakers win on the road without Luka and Kyrie, they can head back into 4th place in the Western Conference. Your thoughts on this, my friend? Because we said for a while now that we're just expecting the sweep. And I didn't want to put any undue expectations on this team. And we thought, okay, where are they going to go ahead and get at in regards to that win in Texas? So we were leaning more towards the Dallas Mavericks, who had lost Luka by that time. Now we found word that Kyrie has some bulging disc issues, so he'll be out for the next couple of weeks. There is no excuses, Magic Man. They lost against a really good home team in Houston. No shame there because the way they came back, I know that
Mhm.
Jovan Buha and all the other Lakers specialists are picking it apart like we did as far as facing off against a young athletic team. We let them get us way too far away in the first half. Or we said it all on our post game as well.
Mhm.
I get that. But I think, again, I'm trying to put sometimes we're accused of being all negative. I'm trying to put a little bit of positive spin. I think the Lakers coming back, they could have just folded up the tent and said, we're going to get one in Dallas. No, they tried to come back. They almost won it. And if they play in Dallas like they did in the second half, they should have themselves a win, split the Texas two step tomorrow.
I agree, Joe. I agree. Um, because the emphasis is now don't take what's in front of you for granted. This is still an NBA team.
Mhm.
Now they have lost their best primary and secondary scorer, and they have lost their best primary and secondary playmaker. So there should be no excuses.
No excuses.
That being said, Gerald, we don't wanna tempt fate here. Um, they have very good players that could do certain things, but they are going to desperately miss Kyrie and Luca, and I hope it continues tomorrow night because they cannot score without those two guys. It is very difficult for them to manufacture points. And Kid's gonna have to do a lot more than just watch the game tomorrow night. He's actually going to have to try and outcoach JJ Redick if the Mavericks want to come out with a victory at home. And by the way, Gerald, that slide continues, that slippery slide down to mediocrity. That's 9 losses in 10 games for the Mavs now.
Which again, we've seen it already this season, Magic, from Phoenix, Golden State, now the Mavericks. I mean, they were all three of these teams were very high in the Western Conference earlier this season. And all three have found themselves, for various reasons or another, performing poorly. In recent note, Phoenix won tonight, although Beal is not talking very much because he had to score and he was benched. He's coming off the bench, so I know he wasn't too thrilled about that. But they did get the win, and that might be the impetus to get them back into the play and chase. But again, I was talking about it with Alfred Esmond on our first preview with the members preview, which is now available now for everyone right there for them on NBA observations. And he was talking about how it just seems like in the Western Conference, once you get past the Oklahoma City Thunder, consistency and beatability seems to be prevalent amongst those teams 2 through 12, Magic Man.
Yes, Gerald. There's a lot of flaw rollover from 2 to 12 right now.
Yes.
Each team has at least one significant flaw, maybe two, if you want to dig into the weeds. But absolutely, and Gerald, not since probably I remember 2000 the 07-08 season when it was I believe the Lakers, the Hornets, the Spurs, the Sun, they were all jumbling from like 1 to 7. I think there was a difference of about 2 or 3 games. I'm getting those same vibes right now. I think this is just going to come down to the very last day of the regular season to determine seedings for the Western Conference. And as we know, that last day can prove mightily important because we do know of teams who have tried to let's just say maneuver their way into certain or finesse their way into certain matchups, and it hasn't unfolded as well as you would think. The prime example I think Gerald brings up is the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Los Angeles Clippers, and neither team decided they wanted to win that night. It proved to be a little perilous for the Clippers because they got a matchup that they did not like at all, Gerald.
Yes. And I'll tell you this, though. They have to get it done tomorrow. There are no excuses. If we come on tomorrow night with a loss, after a loss, I'm just going to say there were no excuses. Even, I'm hoping that doesn't forebode any type of injury to any major piece of the
But
Lakers.
no,
I'm,
you're right, Gerald. You can't
they've
have
got to get it done tomorrow.
Quentin Grimes and PJ Washington beating you with Anthony Davis and LeBron James in the starting lineup. Can't happen. I agree.
So I ask you, my friend, and once again, this is a snack pack, of course, right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Magic Man Sean Grice, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget, I had an hour conversation with Alfred Esmond that just became available for everyone. It was available first for members, but go ahead and check it out here after our conversation. And then maybe, I don't know, Mr. Sorrow has said he was thinking about doing it at 11. And I said, okay, can I schedule it? And then he said, I don't know yet. And I said, why did you even talk to me about it if you don't even know? I don't know this guy. What'd you say, Magic? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, well, yeah. What's the logic there?
He tells me he wants to think about doing it at 11. Then I said, okay, do you want me to schedule it? He said, I don't know yet.
That's adult. That's adult move.
All right. That's well, look who we're talking about here. But of course, the fans love him and the crowd loves him. It is, of course, Joe Sorrow. Maybe you'll have a nightcap for you tonight. Hopefully, he'll be along with as well. I know that I'm going to lean on you guys tomorrow because I will spend the majority of my time during the game at CES. So I know that you guys will be out and about with your stuff that's going on at playback.tv/Sacred Fast Break. And then after the game, on the post game, which I will have set up for you guys as well. So, yeah, I said don't confirm it. That's what I just said. Joe's in the chat.
There's a cloud ass in the chat as we speak.
And I said, yeah, and I said that. I said you did not confirming it. So I said maybe. Did I not preface it with a maybe? Yeah. So maybe there will be one. Maybe there won't. I don't know. It's up to Joe. He's a busy guy. So we'll leave it with that. But Magic Man, when it comes to the Lakers, again, it's not just about winning tomorrow and getting that split. It's about what they do after that. You've got Charlotte, you've got San Antonio, you've got again a truly winnable schedule up ahead. There are no excuses for the Lakers leading up to Boston. I'm not going to say on Boston because that's always going to be a rivalry right there, but I'm just going to say this when it comes to what the Lakers need to accomplish over the next few games. Dallas injured, Charlotte, they're Charlotte. I know we said splitting the games against San Antonio, but they're both at home. If you catch San Antonio the wrong way, they're around 500, so they could easily drop those two. Miami, after that at home, they're having a hell of a time right now in the middle of Jimmy Gate. And then Brooklyn after that. That's a lot of wins you can rack up before you get to the Clippers and the Intuit Dome, host of Monday Night Raw right now. So your thoughts, my friend, in the next 6 games, what are you looking at as far as the Lakers getting it done?
I think a 5-1 record is not unrealistic, Gerald. Gonna have to put their hard hats on for a couple of those games, though, because we do know we have a tendency to kind of play down to our opponent after a huge victory. Now, I mean, Joe made a very salient point the other night when he mentioned that there hasn't been any like ick or ugh losses the Lakers have had this year to bottom feeders. It's been more the middle of the road or OKC just pummeling us at times. But you have to forge on. I mean, there's way too many. So 3 teams are sliding right now, Gerald, as we speak. Denver, Dallas, and Sacramento. Now, Sacramento's kind of turned it around the past week, but they've lost a lot of ground. Minnesota is in a code red situation right now, Gerald. They have to rely on Anthony Edwards to score 50 points against the Pistons to try and stay in a game. So there are a lot. There are a few teams. There are a handful of teams right now in the Western Conference that are kind of hanging on by a thread. And if the Lakers can continue to stack these wins, then we won't have the same apprehension that we do in late March and April, trying to go on a 10-2 run in the last 12 games to try and get a seventh or a sixth spot, rather than comfortably being in a position where you have home court advantage because you took advantage of the dog days in January and February.
I agree, my friend. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing what will happen here over the next few games. Again, this is a chance where the Lakers could make up some ground on Houston and make up for the loss that they just had yesterday against them, and also Memphis as well. I'm trying to look positive, and trying to look ahead for the Lakers. This is a time they need to gain that ground now, as opposed to when they're going to have to face the Clippers at the Intuit Dome. They're going to have to face the Celtics. Those are a couple tough games. If they split that, I would be ecstatic over that. But it's these other games that are very winnable at home that could really gain you some ground in the Western Conference.
100%, because the Lakers still have 3 games against Oklahoma City, 2 games against Houston, 2 games against Memphis. They have 2 games against the Knicks and 2 against Boston. So you're coming up to a situation now where the schedule's gotten a little lighter, so you need to take advantage of the opponents that are in front of you. There's an old saying, Gerald. It's not who you're playing; it's when you're playing them. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Kurt, back on the attack. We love you, Kurt. Uh, Kurt Affair says, you guys going to get Joy Taylor on the show?
I wish. I wish we could. I wish we could pull those strings, Kurt. I think she's unavailable at the moment.
Oh my
She
gosh.
won't be doing interviews for a while.
No, I don't believe so. But I did want to ask you, though. I know one of the mentions in the comment was Hernan. He talked about, is Rui really bad on defense? I guess for some of these fans that are out there, they're just finally realizing what we've been saying all along is this Rui at the 5 deal. It's not great, but it also smacks of what's happening with Jackson Hayes' ineffectiveness, Christian Coloco being relatively ineffective as well. I mean, that's a statement right there, because Rui at the 5 is really not that good. He is an offensively skilled player who doesn't finish well, but really shoots well from behind the arc. Accentuate those I guess strengths for him. I would probably say a move to the bench is imminent at this rate. I think DFS, he's the latest infatuation that we have. First it was Connect, then it was Christie, and now it's DFS. Maybe it'll be a better fit for the Lakers because he does play defense substantially better than Rui. Your thoughts on Rui Hashimura? I'm not saying he's playing his way out of LA. I don't think that's a strong way. That's too strong a word to say it, but I think, as I've always said, he is best suited as a 6th or 7th man off the bench. I think that's his best role, the best way to go ahead and utilize the strengths. Asking him to defend 3s and 4s is tough because he's just that tweener, just his size, just his makeup. He's just not fast enough for 3s, and he's just not, as we saw in Houston, just not strong enough for 4s or 5s. Although Steven Adams is stronger than virtually anyone out there, so that goes without saying.
Yeah, absolutely, Gerald. And I will say this. I'm not sure where I understand where the penchant for playing undersized men at the 5 came from. This is kind of born out of the tentacles of the Warriors advancement with the 3-point shot and ball movement. That being said, there's only Gerald, I can really only think of 2 undersized centers right now in the NBA that do a pretty good job defensively. And the reason they're able to do that is because if you are undersized center, you need one of two things to compensate for that. One, obviously, Gerald mentioned it, 6'9" on 7 foot Steven Adams. That strength and height battle will go to Adams. So Rui can't out physical bigger men. Or you have to be a mobile, able to run with a chicken with your head cut off, north, east, south, and west in the paint like Bam Adebayo. Or,
Absolutely.
yeah, but I mean that guy really doesn't exist anymore, Gerald. Like you said, you're asking your center to do two. Gerald's mentioned this. Coaches tend to ask centers to do probably too much than they actually should within the space and time of the NBA right now. And I'm with you, Gerald. I'm Rui is not an undersized five. He doesn't have the mobility down there to go to switch back and forth, perpendicular and parallel movements. And I wish JJ would stop with the fascination because it's not going to take. I mean, if the tape on the Pistons game when he did put him at the five didn't prove to him that he shouldn't do it. I don't know what else will, Gerald. We lost a lot of minutes in that game because Rui was at the five giving up easy layups.
Absolutely, and that's the problem. He's also talked. We also talked about it on various occasions. His inability to finish at the rim as well. As he seems to get those lapses of concentration where he just can't seemingly finish with consistency there. So I know that Hernan and some others already have him traded. Again, I don't know if that's enough to get a bigger piece. To get a couple rotation guys like Sexton and Kessler, that's great. It'll help improve the team a little bit, fix some holes, fix some depth. But I don't know. It's not the game changer that I am looking for. But still, in a Western Conference that may need only or necessitate only a couple of small changes and tweaks, that could be enough to get the Lakers into second place in the Western Conference. Because right now, as I've said, 2-12 is up for grabs.
It's up for grabs, Gerald. There's only Houston's in second place right now. There's only 11. There's only 3 losses separating second from fourth right now. So, or excuse me, four. That being said, yeah, that there's going to be a lot of jumbling and back and forth right here. Like I said, I my personal sense is that of the 4 teams that are sliding right now, the Wolves, the Kings, the Mavs, and the Suns, one of them will probably right that ship at some point, and they'll be in the mix. But it's the other teams that are uh, going to be in for it because, like you said, Gerald, on any given day, the Spurs can win a game. On any given day, they can lose. They're just such an up
Just
and
talked to the
down
Nuggets
team.
last week on that one.
So if you're playing the Spurs on the wrong day and you desperately need a victory, I mean, they're they're huddled, they're middling right there. The Spurs, Victor wants at least a taste of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So something tells me that if they don't make a big move, so the Spurs are going to try and enhance the roster enough where they feel comfortable trying to go for a playoffs. But because I mean, Gerald, at this point in time, I think people should realize that the Spurs are really playing with house money at this point.
They are, and that's the interesting thing. I mean, like we talked about, just mentioned just before you spoke, the Denver Nuggets. They had a home and home on successive days, and very competitive in both. They took one, and the Nuggets took one, and again, they see themselves. I think that gives a young team like that, for the most part, outside of the couple very old pieces they have, a lot of confidence, Magic Man, a lot of confidence that they do deserve to be there. I mean, all it takes is those kind of wins against an experienced team, a championship team like Denver. They took one of two. They feel, you know what? Maybe we don't have to wait. Maybe we should continue to plan on the future. Maybe we should start thinking about winning right now.
100%, Gerald. And I mean, my goodness, if you were one of the Rockets, the Grizz, or the Thunder, do you really want to see Wemby in the first round? I mean, not really. It would kind of be a little scary to me that, the 7'5" monster is going to be playing in a 7-game series, and all it takes is one. Gerald knows all it takes is one or two tips of the ball here or there, and it's a different series. So this is going to be very interesting, Gerald. Like you said, outside of Paul, I mean, it's still a young team, and they're playing with a lot of confidence.
Absolutely. And it's good to see a young team like that rise before our very eyes. I mean, OKC, uh, Detroit, Orlando, Houston, uh, the old standbys, the old guard are starting to change. And you're seeing this evolution as of now. Now, these teams could come back to the pack. I don't think OKC will, but I think some of these teams may come back to the pack a little bit. We'll see if that's going to be the case or not. But it's going to be very interesting to see how these older, veteran-laden teams like Phoenix, Golden State, the Lakers, how they are able to stay in step with these younger teams that are trying to make an imprint, maybe a little bit before than some people have had expected.
Absolutely. Some teams peak a little earlier than expected. I mean, we could definitely see one or two teams turn a corner. Look, I remember. I think it was the 09-10 season. Um, we whooped the living you know what out of the Thunder drill.
Mhm.
I think they started the previous year like 3-25, like a ungodly record. Yet the second half they were probably one of the best teams in the NBA, and we saw a similar script being written by the Rockets last year. Struggled a little bit in the first half, and then the second half of the season they were a force, and nobody really wanted to see them in the first round in the West. Not that they would have won a series, but the fact that they would have put a scare into a team and made it a lot more difficult for them by their physical style play. The Spurs, on the other hand, are more of a finesse team at this point, especially with Victor deciding to take 6 or 7 threes a game. But it's a different game because he's still 7'5", and you still have Chris Paul, and it's a dangerous mix if you have a young team with a veteran like that and an experienced coaching staff that can develop these guys to make them believe that they can win sooner than they think.
One of the things I want to ask you once again, it is a Lakers snack pack. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. We truly appreciate it. Some of the trade targets out there, they're always in flux, always changing. And one that I was vehemently against, I even had an argument with somebody on camera about this in regards to it, was Zach LaVine, because those knees absolutely scare me. But the kid is balling out, as Quabina said. He has been huge. I know Bobby Marks put on there his last 5 games, unreal numbers. He's shooting at 51% clip from three, et cetera, et cetera. Hasn't led to the Bulls being successful, mind you, but his athleticism seems to be there. You know what? The problem is, though, this is where I had the issues. When I said that the DFS trade, second thought and a second think, maybe looking deeper, maybe it's something where, okay, you're talking about a piece that you can help build your roster and to build your depth, but what it might make it harder to do is to go after player such as Zach LaVine, because Zach LaVine at $43 million a year, you it's just hard for the Lakers to get to those numbers with anything that a Chicago GM would say, yes, I'm interested. Oh, sure, I'll throw out, of course, Vincent and Vanderbilt at you. And then you would hear nothing but laughing on the other end. So let's get real about this. I
Mhm.
mean, when you see all these trades out there on the internet and includes Vanderbilt, yeah, forget about that. And I've heard reports that no NBA GM is interested in Gabe Vincent either. Do you blame them? He's averaging 3 points a game. Yeah, give me a break
No.
here. How do you go about it? I mean, he seems the way he is playing. Should he stay healthy, and that's a big should. Should he stay healthy is kind of the dynamic player Joe and I have been talking about, Magic Man. So that's the problem is it's so hard now without D'Lo's contract to make the numbers work.
Yeah, Gerald. It's um what's it all? I'll remember it in a sec. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to manufacture the kind of trade now that would entice another executive to make a deal with the Lakers. Because yeah, I would be like, okay, Rui's a fine player, sure. Gabe Vincent, I've already got a lot of guards on this team. What do I need Gabe Vincent for? Right? And then
Yes.
Jared Vanderbilt. Well, I've got another wing who I drafted high, who is underperforming, who we've paid a lot of money for. Pat Williams. Uh and you want to add another underperformer who makes more than 10 million a year. Yeah, you know what, Gerald? I know Chicago ends up doing these kinds of moves. They just don't end up doing them with us. Um, but for a 500 team, that's a 500 deal, honestly. So I don't think it nets them any more wins or any more losses, that a trade like that. It actually might net them more losses, but those losses won't akin to a high lottery pick. I mean, the yeah, I just like I would stay away from Chicago at this point because Gerald, in the last, let's just say, post Derrick Rose, who is their best lottery pick that the Chicago Bulls have taken? Would it be Laurie Markkinen?
Yeah, I'd probably
All
say
right.
Laurie Markkinen. Yeah, but then again, you see where he's at. He's now the patience and the right platform for his success was not in Chicago, was not in Cleveland. Sometimes it takes a different locale, and he's found it in Utah. As soon as you get some players around him, he'll probably go ahead and have two or three more outstanding seasons. Right now, it's just again they're tanking, so you got to ride with that. But yeah, at this point, I don't know. Again, it's very iffy. He looks sensational now. And if you're going all in, as the Lakers already indicated with the trade for DFS, they are looking more to competing in Western Conference because they see things like we do that with a couple things going right here or there, you could find yourself second place in the Western Conference rather easily, Magic Man.
Rather easily, Gerald. I mean, if the next 2 weeks, if the Lakers went 8-3 again, they I think they would be sitting comfortably in second or third right now. And that's assuming we think that OKC still continues this torrid pace, which I don't think they will. There's bound to be a cool off period here with the Thunder and Cavs, so it's imperative that if you're between 2 to 12, you don't lose any more ground. Maybe you're not gaining as much ground as you want, but you can't lose any ground at this point.
Adam says a bad trade could make us worse. I mean, we've been playing better without Gabe in the rotation. That is true. I can't say I
Well,
disagree with you on that. He said we were
well,
right there at the end with the
and
Rockets.
Yeah, Gerald. Any trade can make you worse potentially. I mean, Gerald. Let's look at this situation. A lot of people are
Mhm,
looking at the Kings situation with the misplaced trades they made over the offseason.
mhm.
Why don't we examine another situation? When the Minnesota Timberwolves traded Cat for Julius Randle and DiVincenzo.
I love the trade for Minnesota, and I was wrong on that one. So
Well, Gerald, I think we all kind of loved it from Minnesota because you assumed that that would mean Nas Reed would get more touches and more
yeah,
shots.
that he would
But
be starting, and then DiVincenzo would be going off like he did as a New York Knick, which has yet to really happen. And that to me was the most surprising thing because he was playing with such confidence. But was part of
because
that the fact he was
right,
playing in at Villanova East?
yeah, was it? Was that the
Maybe.
case? Because now you've ruined two guys' games. You've ruined Julius Randle, who can't find a foothold, and Nas Reed has regressed badly, Gerald.
Mhm.
And that situation is a code red. They are in a code red situation. From a like and I don't think it was a bad trade. Like Gerald said, a lot of people liked that trade for Minnesota when it was first announced.
But the thing is, though, with DFS, he has to produce. He is. A lot of people are putting their faith into him. Again, when it comes to me, the more I look at it, the I don't know, just maybe the more concerned I got that maybe the Lakers were a little hasty. But if DFS produces, like what bits and pieces we saw against Houston, if you give him a larger role and he produces, there you go. It obviously makes the Lakers a better team, at least on the defensive end where it's desperately needed. But again, will he get you more than 10 points a game? Will he be able to go ahead and make an impact on the game that is worth what we traded in that expiring contract that D'Lo has? I understand trading the negative as a positive in case, as Joe said, about getting D'Lo kicked off the team. I understand that, but when it comes down to it, if we see that we needed more 2 months from now, if we still are in a position where we're, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and we could have had a position where maybe we were more solidifying in second or third, maybe going after someone that can make a bigger contribution would have been the wiser idea.
I think so. I think so, Gerald.
Again, I know a lot of people have already got the Kessler, Sexton trade already down. And again, those are two solid players. Again, they performed very well over the weekend in games. I threw in Sensabaugh, as emailed you the other day on. If you throw in Sensabaugh, who's been lighting it up off the bench, was it 27 and a 35-point game back to back, something like that? You know what? Then it piques my interest. I don't know if it still gets you where you want it to go, but again, a couple tweaks, things to work out the right way. Maybe an injury to Shea. You never know. The Lakers find themselves that second place, a distant second place, but still in second place. All it takes is that one major injury here or there, that one lucky break here or there, to get you where you want to go.
That's it, Gerald. And that's usually how it works. It's
I
one.
disagree with you on that, Darren. I think you need more than 10 points a game from DFS.
You
I
need
do
more
think,
than 10 points a game from
yeah,
DFS. You do
yeah.
need more than 10 points a game from DFS.
If he becomes a starter, you need more than 10 points a game from DFS. You guys will be asking more than 10 points a game from DFS. As a guy off the bench, if he stays on the bench, okay, that's fine. All right, 9, 10 points a game. If he's shooting 40% from three, I would gladly take that because we desperately need some type of bench output that's consistent because we haven't been getting it. But if he becomes a starter, like many people are already starting to call for after Houston's performance, Magic Man, you can't have a weak link in that starting lineup.
No, you can't have a weak link in the starting lineup, Gerald. And I will say this. I think DFS needs to be in the starting lineup for one reason and one reason alone. The insertion of Max Christie into their starting lineup has revealed a pattern. Do you know what the pattern is, Gerald?
No, go ahead.
The Lakers are not getting their ass whooped in the first quarter. In
Yeah.
those 10 games that Christie has started, the Lakers have either won the first quarter 6 times, lost it 3 times, and were tied once. That was the Warriors. In the 3 losses, Gerald, they've been outscored by no more than 4 points in the first quarter, which was a stark difference from last year when it seemed like we were entering the second quarter down 8, down 11, down 14. So methinks that if JJ inserted DFS into the starting lineup, instead of winning a first quarter by, say, a +4 or +6, you may be winning a first quarter by +8 or +10. I actually think that DFS in the starting lineup can contribute positively to the Lakers' point differential and help put it into the green rather than being still in the red. We're in the red, ladies and gentlemen. We're one of the best Western Conference in the teams, and our point differentials in the red.
1.6 in the negative still. Yes, overall, which is still, uh, whether you call it a fluke or whether you call it just the fact that they lose worse than they win, the close wins, larger losses, what have you, it's still, I don't know, not a great sign when you're not, you're a winning team and you're not having that scoring differential on the positive side. But again, all it takes is a couple big wins for the Lakers. Could start tomorrow, and it could lead into Charlotte. No excuses, Magic Man. They could get back into the positive by the time the weekend's done, and by the time that we meet up against San Antonio.
Could be, Jill. I hope so. You really want to see some consistency here. The last 10 games have been a good sign. You've gone 7-3. Let's go 8-2 in the next 10. Then
Yeah.
keep going, because this train is not going to stop. I'm sorry to say this, but I haven't seen the records as of yet, Gerald. But my guess is that the Western Conference has been eating the Eastern Conference's lunch this year, uh, just based off a gut feeling. Because you normally once I haven't seen a heavy hitter from the East yet really take on some, excluding the defending champs, take on somebody and really punch him square in the jaw. We saw the Knicks have trouble with the Thunder, Gerald. They gave up a big lead, surrendered it, and the Thunder came back. Um, we haven't we haven't really seen the Cavs tested yet, Gerald. They with their schedule, so
They'll
there's
get
go.
one on Wednesday.
Yeah, they will. We're gonna get that one underway. Uh,
That's funny because we're all still. You guys are like me, man. How long have I been saying Magic Man? I hated that Zubats trade.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God!
So I've
Come
been
on,
saying it on the show
guys.
forever.
Yeah, it'll go down as bad Lakers trade.
That is probably in my books in the top 5 of worst Lakers trades ever. I know the Westbrook trade is a clear cut number 1, but yeah, this Zubats trade is definitely something that I think you got
Well, what?
people got
Well, you know what, Gerald?
just an average 16 and
Yeah,
17 and 16 today against Minnesota. Nothing to just a
yeah.
regular day at the office.
Well, you know something. When he finally breaks through and makes an All-Star team this year, I think that's when we can kind of put the trade to rest and say, yeah, it's one of the worst top 5 Laker trades of all time. You traded away an All-Star for Michael Muscala. Moose. You traded the zoo for the moose, and it didn't
Shut
work
up,
yet.
Joe. Shut up. No, we'll keep on giving you the Zubats BS as long as you can take it. So deal with it, Joe. All right. Yes, Ali
Joe,
says. I love that. Ali's putting their 61.6 percent field goal percentage. Just saying, he knows what
mhm.
he is. He knows what he can do. we saw glimpses of it as a Laker, and it's just about developing that promise. And they didn't want to have the patience to do it, and instead they
Nope.
want to, yeah,
One instant returns from Michael Muscala.
yep. And just imagine he could have been the body on Steven Adams against Houston had we again just been a little bit more patient.
Mike Muscala, long list of elephant graveyard shooters. That
Yes.
like
Yeah, who's retired now. So again, that tells you all you need to know. But once again, it is the Lakers fast break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching us. We truly appreciate that. And I'm happy for Zubats. Yeah, I know he's on the Clippers, but I am happy for him. Always seemed like a good kid. He wanted to play coming out of the NBA draft. Remember, teams didn't want to play him because they wanted to draft and stash him, and he wanted to play right now. So that's why he didn't go until the second round to the Lakers. And yeah, I guess the rest is history on that one. But before we head on out, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and ask you about some of your observations out there in the league. I know that a lot of people are really riding high on Cleveland. Again, we talk about the Wednesday game against Oklahoma City. That will be very interesting as a matchup coming there. I think that Oklahoma City has already run away with the Western Conference. I mentioned that earlier today in my conversation with Alfred Esmond. And right now for the Lakers, it should be about what they can do to position themselves possibly as high as second place, because I do feel that they have a definite shot. And as far as with Luka out, Kyrie out, they're going to be hopefully falling in the next 2 weeks to give them a deficit. Memphis and Houston, again, teams with flaws on their roster that I would love to go ahead and see the Lakers pass on by. But your thoughts, again, this is the time is now for the Lakers. But yeah, let me hear your thoughts on anything else you're seeing in the Western Conference.
yes, Gerald. I would say that I agree with Gerald when he says that the Clippers may be a sleeping giant.
Well, Kawhi is just getting started, everyone. He looked terrible again tonight, but he does that slow ramp up thing when he comes back from his major injuries. We've seen this before. Then all of a sudden, for like 2-3 weeks, he looks like out of this world, top 5 player in the world, Kawhi, before he injures himself again, and right back to square one. But if he stays healthy and he gets to the player even 70% of what he once was, that does make the Clippers kind of dangerous in that Western Conference.
100%, Gerald. 100%. Although they feasted against us Sunday night, I would still keep an eye out on whether or not Houston can get this perimeter shooting drought fixed. Because they could that's their big vulnerability, Gerald. And if they have a bad shooting week or two, they could find themselves being from second to seventh in the snap of a finger. Um, like I said, I think 3 up, 3 down. Right now in the Western Conference, the 3 that are up are obviously, even though they had a tough West Coast trip at Memphis, and Gerald, don't be surprised if they don't make a swing and miss move. I think that'd be a huge mistake. I think for them to try and maybe angle Jimmy Butler out of Miami would be a disaster. I don't think that Jimmy and Jaws games mesh at all. I don't understand that rumor, to be
I don't
honest
think
with you.
anybody should get Jimmy at this time. I think Jimmy
Leave
is,
him alone. Leave
yeah.
him just leave him alone. I agree with you, Gerald, and it wouldn't shock me if Riles just says, "Yeah, I didn't get anything in the way of a quality deal for him," and he plays out the string in Miami. Because honestly, Gerald, um, the Miami Heat are in a very precarious situation. They owe a pick to the OKC Thunder, and if they don't play well enough, they could surrender it. That being said, they're in a position now where they can't really trade Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
You're in a playoff position. Like I'm not gonna trade you if I'm in a playoff position. It doesn't make any reasonable sense. I'm not gonna get equal return for you. Plus, wherever you go, it's not determinant that you're going to experience joy all of a sudden again. And I got to be honest, Gerald. If it's important for you to be joyful at your job, the NBA is one of the last professions I would pick, because ordinarily I don't see anybody happy, Gerald, except the players who are making 50, 60 million. You don't see a lot of a lot of emotions out of the coaches, the executives. It seems to be a lot of miserable in the NBA outside of the top 1% making 50 mil. So it's going to be really interesting because Minnesota, Dallas, and Phoenix are sliding. Memphis, Houston, and I would say Denver are rising. To me, Gerald, I think Denver's at the end of the year is going to be a top three seed. I
Mhm.
I I think they're just look. They are 6-0 in back to backs, Gerald, and they're 4-0 in OT games. So we're talking about a team that is kind of just playing out the adversity. If they get healthy again, watch out. They could end up winning 12 of 15 or 8 in a row or something. It wouldn't shock me at all if again we find that Denver and OKC are battling for the top seed.
Just wanted to give everyone a helpful guide. Bobby Marks dropped this as that's what I woke up my morning to earlier today. Seeing this right here, and you notice if you've been looking at it in the past couple of minutes while Magic Man has been providing his analysis, OKC, if it was to be today, and that were the lottery results right there, OKC has 3 picks. I see Utah with 3 picks.
Mm-hmm.
I thought another team had 3 picks. Brooklyn has 3. I see there. No, Brooklyn has 4.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn would have 4 because remember they've got 31 picks to the end of this. I think the end of the decade or next
Yep.
7. No, next 7 years they have 31 picks. 15 first rounders and 16 second rounders after the Treason trade with the Lakers. So, yeah, they have 4 picks in the next draft. So, yeah, great to be them. Miami, though, again, like you were talking about with Jimmy Butler, Jimmy most likely is going to have to go ahead and pick up that $51 million option. I just don't think there's any two ways around it. He is not the player he once was. Nobody's going to give him above a $15 million, $20 million contract as far as on a per year basis. And that wouldn't total out to $51 million. So he would lose tens of $1 millions there, most likely. I just think he should do a $51 million pickup. And then if you're Riles, I would just eat it. I would just say 51 million's coming off my books here in 2 seasons. I'm just going to go from there. But he's probably going to be too itchy with his trigger finger and say, you know what? I got to trade Butler at some point in time because he's just that bad of an attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, Gerald, I would save a lot of the Fox talk for the off season as well, because I don't see any scenario this year where he gets dealt. I think
Not even
Darren.
Houston.
I don't think so. Not during the year. In the off season, I think so. That because I mean at this point, if you're Sacramento, I think they're just going to decide we're just going to roll with this to see what happens.
Orlando has multiple picks as of now. San Antonio has multiple picks as of now. Man, some of these teams are going to be looking good in a very good draft from what most draft analysts are saying, Magic Man. Yeah, the Lakers are looking on the outside. Well, that might be to the Lakers' benefit as well if you talk about the fact that they keep their 2 second-round picks, because I think those are the only 2 second-round picks they've got for the rest of the
Mhm.
decade at this point.
That's
So
it.
yeah.
That's yeah. So I mean, well, out of curiosity, Gerald, what would you do if you were the Orlando Magic right now?
I need to see how they are. I think when I had talked with Alfred Esmond on this, we were both kind of high on them going the season, but I still don't think that they were one player away. Let's say like a Zach Levine. And then you get a high scoring offensive laden guard, point guard to go along with them. If you bring that offensive fusion in, I think that would be exactly what they need. I love Jalen Suggs, but Jalen Suggs as a scorer is just not it. Maybe you get like a Kobe White and Zach Levine deal going. I mean, that would be a just the ideal situation if you could do something like that. In return, you send Cole Anthony, who's playing really well. You'd probably have to trade Tristan da Silva, who's been playing really well. I talked about him with Alfred, but if you can make a trade like that, if you're in win now mode, I see that as pretty much the only way that they can compete with a Boston or Cleveland. But they do have the size when they're healthy and the defensive ability to defend almost as well as anybody in the NBA.
I would agree with that 100%. Uh, yeah, they need it. They need somebody around Franz because until Franz
Well,
has like
Banquero's coming back any day now, according to
yes,
what Alfred had said. So
that's good. That's good because they're going to need his mid range punch there because their offense is pu with
yes,
it,
without Franz and Banquero in the lineup. So yes, but at least they'll get one of those guys back, and they should get Franz back in a similar time frame. What probably say this time next month. They would probably have both guys back, and at that again, that bodes well for them. But still, they're offensively challenged, even with those guys. So bringing in a dynamic scorer, i.e., a Zach Levine and maybe a Kobe White, if you could find the assets to get both of them, I think that would probably be the scenario I would be going after if I was Orlando, because you would still have enough defense to support them, whatever deficiencies that they have on that end.
100%. I mean, they really took advantage of the Cavs uh Smurfs guards last year when that series went to 7 games. Now, ultimately didn't happen for him. But that being said, he still took a
Yay! A
team that's
subscriber.
uh, almost 30-5 this year, last year to 7 games. Uh, Gerald, if the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic met again in the first round, would you qualify the Cavs as overwhelming favorites given
I
last
have to.
year's?
How could you? They look tremendous right now. They look tremendous against the Lakers. They look tremendous on their West Coast trip. They are playing with a level of confidence better than any team in the NBA. Although we'll see if that confidence gets shattered on Wednesday against the OKC Thunder. That's a real test. By the way, 805 Fillmore, cannot thank you enough for subscribing. Truly appreciate it. Yeah, so again, right now we will see where these top two teams stand. They're both playing with confidence. OKC, if you throw out the NBA Cup game, has won 15 in a row. Cleveland has won 10 in a row. Man, that looks good. What's going to happen on Wednesday?
Jared, let me ask you a question.
I love
Um,
NBA basketball fans.
with all things being equal, who would you have on the court besides Shea at the end of a game against a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers? Would you have Kassan Wallace or would you put Alex Caruso out there?
Well, that's why you just gave Alex Caruso the big bucks. Although Case and Wallace, this time next year, we'll probably say Case and Wallace is probably the premier perimeter defender in the league, if you're not saying that already. But you paid Alex Caruso this type of cash for a reason, and he has the championship experience. You do have to put both big guys once both big guys are healthy out there to match up with the size of Cleveland. But you have Shea, you have Dort, and I'd say you have Caruso. Although, again, if it's not working out with Caruso and he's just not shooting, and he provides you no offense, which as you and I both know, he has a tendency to do. He is so good on one end of the ball. When he's shooting 35, 40% from three, that's great, but he doesn't often take shots. There are times where he just goes completely shotless in a game or a period of game. Cason Wallace can give you that type of output too. So, I mean, they just have so many options in OKC right now,
Mhm.
just as they do in Cleveland. Cleveland has a little bit more veteran, more, I guess, they built their team, they built their roster through very shrewd management and picking up guys like Jerome, Struz, some of the other guys that they picked them up for
By
cheap
the way,
off the scrap heap.
Ty Jerome was a former Thunder. Couldn't keep him either.
Yeah.
So
So
it's like it's an embarrassment of riches right now.
yeah.
Let's say
So
Presti.
exactly. So, but with OKC, they have wave after wave of really promising talent. So we'll see how it goes for both those teams. But again, for the Lakers, I want to close out our conversation now that we're an hour in on the Lakers. Tomorrow is a very key game. They do need to split. There's no excuses. They've got a very winnable schedule up ahead. Anybody who tells me differently is just not seeing the schedule for what it is. They do have to take advantage of a lot of these home games that they have upcoming, and they do have to take care of business tomorrow against a team without Kyrie and Luca.
They have to take care of business, Gerald. Uh, Gerald said it best. No excuses.
Yeah.
This has to be a win. Split the Texas two-step. Just get in, get out, wire to wire, get the victory. There's no way in a world where Anthony Davis is playing center and LeBron James is the ball handler, where Quentin Grimes, PJ Washington should be outplaying you. And by the way, Gerald, we don't know if Daniel Gafford's going to be available tomorrow because he had an ankle problem the other night. So you're getting a team with no Luca, no Kyrie, and if he is playing, it's a bum ankle Daniel Gafford. And Gerald, we know that there are a lot of centers in the NBA who do not like physical defense. And Gafford plays a style of defense that is a good fit for that team,
Yes.
even with their injury history. So if he is not 100%, that bodes that is another boding situation for the Lakers to take advantage because a wounded animal is a dangerous animal, Gerald. You can't take it for granted.
Sharon has a good question. Any other Lakers must show up to beat the Mavs? By the way, Ali, yes, Caruso is a defensive specialist, but like in the run with the Lakers, you need to when that those 3 to 5 to 7 opportunities each and every game to hit the shot. He needs to hit the shot because in a playoff series, they're going to leave him alone. So he's got to hit the shot when called for. And just his experience alone, at least you would have to give him the first look as their primary fifth option right there. But want to go ahead and touch on what Sharon B says. Any other Lakers must show up to beat the Mavs. I think someone off the bench. We got to get someone. We got to get something, Sharon. If you put DFS in the starter, or if you don't put him as a starter, whatever, somebody coming off that bench has to provide. The bench has to score 20 points. Is it so much to ask for the bench to score 20 points, Magic Man?
No, Gerald, it shouldn't be, considering the fact that you're playing a team that's going to bring Jaden Hardy off the bench, or he may start now with Kyrie being out as well, who can average 20 like that. So your bench needs to get at least 20, but hopefully it'll be closer to 30, 35 tomorrow night because you need something out of the bench.
Yeah. Again, you
They
when you
the
oh, go
so
ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead, Gerald, go ahead.
I was just going to say to the crowd again, as I said earlier, trading D'Lo. That's why I am kind of on the fence on this DFS trade that we did because if you want a bigger fish, if you want a player that can impact you like Levine, you need to have the money available, and nobody wants Vanderbilt. Virtually nobody wants Gabe, with all the years and money that's attached to them. but D'Lo and that extra $20 million plus Rui gets you near, and JHS gets you near the ballpark for a player like Levine. But we traded D'Lo away, so say
I,
Levine, Magic Man.
and yeah, Gerald, just another couple points. Um, so the Mavs got rid of their two best defenders from last year,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Green and Derek Jones Jr. Now, they are not a very good point of attack defense. They're good. They're good on secondary runs with options. They're with Gafford in there and with couple of their other perimeter players. They can play a decent half court game, but they are not a strong point of attack defense. So attack. The Lakers should be attack mode right from the start, Drill. Another important point for Sharon. The Mavs are not, and now especially with Kyrie and Luca out, the Mavs are not a very good transition defense. If you run on them, you could score a lot because they have a tendency to be a bogged down, ISO led team when Luca and Kyrie are not involved. They don't have tertiary playmaking. They don't have tertiary facilitating. They have trouble manufacturing offense. There should be no way the Lakers lose this game.
I just want to go ahead. I know 805, and thank you again for subscribing. He was asking about Beal. Beal A has a no trade clause, although, again, he wasn't talking to reporters because he was still ticked off about being benched by Budenholzer. So he may request it sometimes or say, hey, you know what? I think I want to go to other different, greener pastures or whatnot. But the problem is he costs a hell of a lot of money. $50 million this year, 52 and 57. No, 53 and 57. That's a lot of money for a guy that's going to be possibly at the end of his career coming off the bench in the not too distant future, if not already. In fact, he is already for Phoenix. I don't know how long that will last. He'll probably get back to the starting lineup soon. But yeah, I would not do it. And plus, you don't even have the assets to do it. I mean, we talked about Zach LaVine, 43 million, $7 million more. You just don't have the assets anymore with D'Lo gone to make a trade like that. It's just not feasibly or financially possible unless you're willing to trade AD.
Yeah, yeah, and it wouldn't be responsible use of your funds.
Yeah. 805 says Beal doesn't have two torn ACLs. That's why I'm very apprehensive on Levine. But he's playing outstanding, 805. I can't agree with you more on that. I would be very nervous, with his knees because, he's a 29-year-old player, I think, on 35-year-old knees, but he's playing lights out right now. And again, whether it's to showcase for a trade, I don't know. But yeah, we just can't afford either of these players anymore now that you got rid of D'Lo. And again, if DFS plays the way we hope he will, then it'll work out as far as the trade is concerned. But if it doesn't, or if he just plays like at a okay rate or whatnot, your ability to go ahead and upgrade to a much better player has diminished quite a bit.
It has, Gerald. And I will let me just add, often they say, Gerald, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And when we talk about a player like Zach LaVine, I would just point this out to just our audience and other members of the NBA community. The intrigue with Zach LaVine, I think, falls into the what if. And the what ifs haven't happened for Zach.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of great offensive tools, Gerald. No question about it. But I think there's been a huge fascination with his game from a public perspective rather than an executive and scouting perspective. if he was really in demand and teams really thought he could help elevate them to contention or championship status, they would have traded for him, ladies and gentlemen. But he's been in Chicago for years, middling in Chicago for years. Zach hasn't elevated the Bulls into a top six, top three, top seed team in the East. He's a very good player. He's a complementary player as well, Gerald. I would say, I don't think anybody ever saw him as a one coming out. I think a lot of people thought he could be a very good number two. Um, somebody's Robin. That also hasn't transpired. So I think people really need to cool off on Zach. I think it's more reputational and more hype than it is actual meat and potatoes with Zach LaVine.
Yeah, just putting that in there for you, Darren. Remember when the buyout. Okay, let's say the trade deadline goes through, and there's the standard buyout of a few players out there. Remember, the Lakers can only go after players who have, I think it's under 15 million off the top of my head that they earned. Let's say, like for instance, D'Lo. D'Lo's 18.7. He could not come back to the Lakers, even if they wanted to, because of the fact that he costs too much money. But yeah, whoever gets waived, whoever gets bought out. Let's say Ben Simmons, for instance. Ben Simmons would be a no-show for any one of its first tier or second tax tier teams because he just has earned too much money in his final season. So before everybody gets excited about this buyout player and this and that buyout player, understand the new CBA rules. Restrict first and second tax apron teams on who they get. Second tax apron teams, I don't even think can get buyout guys.
No.
So yeah, and then again, the first tax apron teams are limited. So yeah, it's just those rare amount of teams that are under the first tax apron who would be eligible to go ahead and do that, unless it's a player that's like earned 12, 13, 14 million, 10 million, something like that. Then that's a player that the Lakers could target if they're waived or bought out of their contract after the trade deadline. So, Magic Man, great conversation, my friend. Absolutely cannot thank you enough for stopping by. Guys, again, if Joe does want to go ahead or is able to, I know he wants to, but if he's able to, I'll go ahead and I'll schedule the nightcap for you, for him. You'll see that pop up on the YouTube page, but I have not got the go-ahead from Sir Sorrow as of yet. But Magic Man,
he fell asleep on the can, Gerald.
Well, I won't go into that one, but it is before we leave. Any last thoughts, my friend? Tomorrow, it'll be a great time to check out Magic Man because he's going to be a big part of our coverage tomorrow at Dallas. I will be in and out of the chat, so if you guys are looking for VIPs, I will do my best I can. I will be at CES, so my internet will be spotty because like 500,000 executives with phones or guys with suits and phones are going to be sucking up all my bandwidth, but I will do my best. But I will try to be back for the post game. But any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
No. Go Lakers.
Go Lakers, indeed. Ale says, in Genie Bruss, I trust. Say that to Joe one of these days, Ali, and see. Again, Joe will probably bark at you. Don't take it personally at all. But yes, say that to Joe and see what he says. So yeah, there you go. So Xbox, always great to see you, my friend. Hope as well for you out there in Australia. And again, wherever you're at. Bloodhound said, yes, thank you. I always go. I've been going since 1996. Maybe one of the longest tenured people going there. So I always take advantage of when I am able to go to check out the latest stuff. I'm going to take pictures and video and maybe, I don't know, just pictures. I think I'll do a lot of pictures. And then I'm going to talk about it on the Cosmos, hopefully with Melinda or maybe Sean or maybe somebody. I'll find somebody to talk about CES later this week. So it's always good to see that extra technology and all those TVs. More TVs per square foot than you will ever see in your life right there at CES. One booth, 20 TVs. Next booth, 30 TVs. Next booth, 20 TVs, 30 TVs, 20. They'll all have displays up. They'll all have, the latest and greatest. Some things are, it's interesting when I get a chance to see the stuff that's prototypes that never, ever sees the light of day as a retail product. Those are always interesting to see. But yes, I'll get a chance, hopefully, to.
I always love the cool ones that can come up from the floor.
Yes, absolutely. I'm telling you, my friend, it's just always good to see the way that technology is, but also good to see the trends of what you and I and others out there might be interested in purchasing later this year, because they give you always advanced sneak peeks on that. So yeah, well, I'll be in the middle of. They used to, Ali, give out a whole ton of goodies of swag back in the day. I remember my first year there. My first wife and I, we had these like IBM little cardboard suitcases full of nothing but swag. And we had like 4 or 5 of them. We're carrying it like this because we were those people that were just, oh, free stuff. Okay, of course, I'll take this. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Plushies, this, yeah, okay. Pencils, yeah. Oh, t-shirts, yeah, okay. We'll take that. Yeah, carrying that out the door of the convention center. So I don't know. These days, you now have to go ahead and sit through presentations for any good swag, and nobody really wants to sit through these presentations anymore. So I will see what I can do. But I no longer I know my kids just Magic Man. They always say, "Did you get anything? Did you get anything?" Because they remember when they were smaller kids, Dad would bring cool stuff. I said, these companies are cheap now these days. Yeah. They'll send you some nice digital advertising is what they'll do instead. Yeah, it costs less, but Tesla bots. There you go. Yeah, there'll be Tesla there. There'll be bots out there. That's for sure. But my friend, it's been great to have you here. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say and the gang has to say tomorrow on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break, and also on the post game as well. Darren says Derrick Rose versus Ja Morant. 2 Memphis kids, different generations. One just got inducted into the Chicago Bulls Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes,
I don't. I mean, Rose at his
so
peak, I think may have been a better player, but that was a very short peak for me.
I would agree.
2 years.
Yeah, I would
maybe
agree.
3.
I would agree. The way Derek could get into the air acrobatically, to this day still it amazes me.
Mm-hmm.
Jaw's quickness is equally as impressive, although doesn't have the wow factor. I would say I'd agree with Gerald. Just Rose by hair.
I'd say because again, MVP
or a thorn.
Back-to-back MVP. Whether or not you think he deserves it, I mean, again, that's for you guys to go ahead and go over. But he does have them. But yeah, before those knees went, he was something special to see. Is Joe coming on at 11 p.m. Tufso? I don't know. Joe has not told me yes or no. I know he's very, very busy doing some Sinblade stuff. In all seriousness, I know I was kidding him earlier, Tough, when I started the show, but if he's able to get away, I will set it up for him, and he'll be here for the nightcap. But as of now, I'm going to say no. So maybe that'll be reverse psychology, and that'll be yes for you guys out there. So we'll see. Again, if he's going to be on, I'll set up for him at 11. If not, I'm sure you'll get plenty of Joe, plenty of Sean, hopefully Laker Nick, even some Danny, Xbox, John Costa. Even if I'm not there, or I'm in the chat, you guys will still have plenty of guys out there to go ahead and keep you company on I guess a cold January night as the Lakers play Dallas. They better win. Absolutely, they better win, Magic Man.
They better win, Joe, or it's going to be a long, long night on the Lakers Fast Break Watch channel.
Absolutely. And JY, I did see Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Netflix is there. Raw is Netflix. And I do have some stuff to say. I'll say down the road on my next wrestling show I do with John Orlando. Definitely looking forward to hearing his thoughts on that. But yes, it was all presentation tonight for Raw is Netflix. So Kyrie is not playing, tough. So he has bulging disc problem. He is out 1 to 2 weeks, according to what was dropped. It was dropped earlier today. I think that news was, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes.
yeah, you all should stay on with Joe too. Ollie, I got some things I got to prep up for CES, and I'd also like to eat dinner. So I can't. Again,
Well,
if Joe,
if the fat ass wants to come on right now, I'll be happy. I'll be happy to be with him, but he's jerking us around.
yes, I'll tell you what though, and that Sean, it's obviously he is on Eastern Standard Time, so man, credit to him for even staying up this late with me. And if he goes on with Joe, he'll yell at Sean anyways to get on the show. So yeah, needless to say that will be notwithstanding. So yeah, joy by the pipes are calling. Again, it's up to him. I know he's doing a lot of good work, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, if he's here tonight, we'll have it ready for you. But if not, we'll still get hours of coverage tomorrow of him, hours of coverage of Sean, hours of coverage of everybody here at the Lakers Fast Break, because we give you the best coverage that's out there from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.